The PS2 may seem old, but when it comes to open-world games, this console laid the foundation for what we experience today. Back then, these games were mind-blowing, offering freedom and exploration in ways we'd never seen before. From action-packed cities to expansive fantasy landscapes, the PS2's open-world games still stand as genre-defining classics. Whether revisiting them or discovering them for the first time, these games prove that the PS2 era had some major gems when it came to engaging open-ended adventures. You know, San Andreas was like a game changer for open world on the PS2. You get this huge stage to explore with 3 massive cities and everything in between. The freedom to do whatever you want, from stealing cars to flying planes, was mind-blowing back in the day. But it wasn't just about the action, it had a deep story too. CJ's journey through gang wars, betrayal, and family drama kept things interesting. Man, if you're into the 80s vibe, Vice City was the ultimate experience. It was basically like playing through Scarface, but with neon lights and an epic soundtrack. Cruising down the streets in a flashy sports car with that synth music blasting really made you feel like a kingpin. The open world wasn't as big as San Andreas, but it had so much style it didn't matter. Tommy Servetti was one of the most memorable protagonists with his brutal rise to power. Ever wanted to be part of the Corleone family? The Godfather, the game, made that possible in a way that felt authentic. The open world recreated 1940s New York, and you could work your way up from low-level enforcer to one of the family's top guys. It had a mix of story missions and side jobs, like extorting business and taking over rival family operations. Now, Mercenaries was a blast if you loved chaos. It had this huge map set in North Korea, and you could cause absolute mayhem with a ton of different vehicles, weapons, and even airstrikes. You play as a mercenary for hire, and it didn't matter which side of the conflict you worked for. Your goal was to get paid and cause destruction. Imagine Grand Theft Auto but set in a school. That's Bully, and it was as fun as it sounds. You played as Jimmy Hopkins, a troubled kid sent to a boarding school, and the whole game revolved around climbing the social ladder, dealing with bullies, and causing all sorts of mischief. The school and surrounding town acted as your open world, with different cliques like jocks, nerds, and preppies to interact with. If you ever wanted to play a cop instead of a criminal in an open world setting, True Crime Streets of LA was your jam. You played as Nick Kang, a detective with a serious attitude, patrolling the streets of a fully recreated Los Angeles. The game let you either uphold the law or bend the rules, giving you freedom to choose your path. Back when movie tie-in games were a big thing, Spider-Man 2 came out and surprised everyone by being genuinely amazing. The swinging mechanics were the highlight, making you feel like you were really Spider-Man flying through the skyscrapers of New York. The open world wasn't just for show either. You could stop random crimes, save people, and complete side missions, all while progressing through the movie's plot. Take Grand Theft Auto's open world formula and throw it into the Simpsons universe, and you get Hit and Run. It was a hilarious mix of driving and exploration in Springfield, letting you play as all the fan-favorite characters. The missions were packed with references to the show, and the writing kept that classic Simpsons humor alive. Just Cause gave you this massive tropical island to explore and the freedom to go wild with stunts and action. You play as Rico Rodriguez, an over-the-top secret agent, and the game was all about pulling off ridiculous feats like parachuting out of cars or taking down helicopters. The open world was huge for its time, and you could hijack almost any vehicle, from boats to planes. In Scarface, The World Is Yours, you get to take control of Tony Montana and rewrite the ending of the movie. The game's open world was set in 1980s Miami, and it was all about building Tony's empire back from scratch. You could do everything from drug deals to turf wars, and it felt like you were running your own criminal empire. Mafia was like stepping into a gangster film set in the 1930s, and it really nailed that atmosphere. You play as Tommy Angelo, a taxi driver turned mobster, and the game followed his rise through the ranks of a crime family. The city was smaller than other open-world games, but it was full of charm, with period-accurate cars, buildings, and music. Before Red Dead Redemption blew everyone away, there was Red Dead Revolver, a Western-themed action game that laid the groundwork for open-world cowboy adventures. The world wasn't as open as Redemption, but it had the same gritty Western atmosphere. You play as Red Harlow, a gunslinger out for revenge, and the story was full of classic Western tropes, gunfights, duels, and riding to dusty towns. This game had you playing as an alien named Crypto, and the whole point was to invade Earth in the 1950s and cause as much chaos as possible. Destroy All Humans had this hilarious B-movie vibe, complete with flying saucers, ray guns, and plenty of ridiculous humor. The open-world levels were smaller but packed with things to destroy, humans to brainwash, and cows to throw around with telekinesis. If you ever wanted to feel like an unstoppable force of destruction, the Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction let you do just that. You play as the Hulk, rampaging through a city and smashing everything in sight, from cars to buildings. The open-world environment gave you plenty of space to unleash your inner beast, and the game really captured the feeling of being superpowered giant. Test Drive Unlimited wasn't just about racing, it was about living the life of a car enthusiast in an open-world version of Oahu, Hawaii. The game gave you this massive map to explore, and you could do more than just race. You could buy houses, collect exotic cars, and even challenge other players online in seamless multiplayer. It had a more laid-back vibe compared to other racing games, and the island setting made it feel like a vacation where you could just cruise around in style. Unlike the previous driver games, Parallel Lines gave you more freedom in its open-world approach, letting you explore New York City across two time periods, the 1970s and the 2000s. The story followed TK, a wheelman out for revenge after being betrayed, and the game had a great mix of driving and shooting mechanics. If you were into street racing, Midnight Club Dub Edition was where it was at. The open-world cities, Detroit, Atlanta, and San Diego, were massive playgrounds for high-speed races and customizing your ride. The game had a ton of cars and motorcycles to choose from, and the customization options were insane, letting you trick out your vehicle with all kinds of flashy mods. The Ratchet and Clank series always balanced action, platforming, and humor, and going Commando kicked things up a notch. While not fully open world, it had large, explorable levels that gave you a sense of freedom as you blasted your way through enemies and collected crazy weapons. The game was packed with charm, with Ratchet's wisecracks and Clank's cool-headed support. Sly 2 Band of Thieves took the stealthy platforming of the first game and expanded it into a more open-world format. Each level was a large hub where you could explore, pull off heists, and take down enemies in creative ways. Playing as Sly and his gang felt like being part of a stylish cartoon caper, with plenty of humor and clever mission designs. Shadow of the Colossus was one of those rare games that felt like a piece of art. The open world was vast but empty, with the main focus being on the 16 colossi you had to take down. Each fight felt like a puzzle, with you having to figure out how to climb these massive creatures and take them down. The game was hauntingly beautiful, with a sense of isolation and mystery as you traveled through the landscapes. Driver 3 was a bit of a mixed bag, but it still had its moment as an open-world driving game. You played as undercover cop Tanner, working to take down a car theft ring. The game gave you 3 cities to explore, Miami, Nice, and Istanbul, and you could hop in and out of cars at will, mixing driving with some third-person shooting. Gun brought the Wild West to life in a gritty and violent open world. You played as Cotton White, a cowboy on a revenge mission, and the game had everything you want in a western: horseback shootouts, salon brawls, and a sprawling frontier to explore. The map wasn't huge by today's standards, but it was packed with activities from bounty hunting to poker games. In True Crime New York City, you took on the role of Marcus Reed, a former gang member turned NYPD detective, and it gave you a massive, fully realized version of the New York to explore. The game had a cool blend of crime fighting and personal vendettas, letting you choose how you handled situations, by following the law or bending the rules. If you loved customizing cars and street racing, Need for Speed Underground 2 was a dream come true. The open-world city let you cruise around, looking for races, tuning your car, and showing off your ride. The customization options were deep, letting you modify everything from paint jobs to performance upgrades, so you could really make your car unique. The races ranged from traditional circuits to drag and drift events, all with a signature NFS style. Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves took the stealthy heist formula from the previous games and ramped it up with more characters, more gadgets, and bigger, more open environments. Each level felt like its own mini open world with plenty of hidden treasures and side objectives to complete. You could switch between Sly and his crew, using each character's unique skills to pull off complex heists. The Warriors was a brutal, beat-'em-up game based on the cult classic film, and it gave you a gritty open-world version of the 1970s New York to explore. You played as a member of the Warriors gang, fighting your way through rival gangs and trying to survive the streets. The game was packed with violent hand-to-hand combat, but it also had stealth and strategy elements like tagging graffiti and looting stores. Total Overdose was like if you mixed GTA with a Robert Rodriguez movie. It was all about over-the-top action, crazy stunts, and Mexican cartel shootouts. You play as Ramiro Cruz, a former criminal turned DEA agent out to avenge his father's death. The open world was filled with non-stop gunfights, and the game encouraged you to pull off insane stunts like diving in slow motion or using special moves like El Toro to plow through enemies. Jak 3 wrapped up the Jak and Daxter trilogy in a way that gave players even more freedom to explore and cause chaos. The game's open world had a mix of desert, wastelands, and futuristic cities, giving you a huge playground filled with vehicles, weapons, and crazy platforming challenges. The story was darker, with Jak being exiled to the desert and trying to survive while uncovering secrets about his past. Need for Speed Most Wanted combined high-speed racing with intense police chases, and it was all set in an open world where you could challenge rivals and escape the law. The story had you climbing a blacklist of notorious street racers, and each victory got you closer to becoming the top racer in the city. The thrill of evading the cops added a level of intensity to every race, and the open world let you explore shortcuts, jumps, and hidden areas to gain an edge. Beyond Good and Evil gave players a unique open-world adventure that blended action, exploration, and storytelling. You played as Jade, a photojournalist covering a massive conspiracy on a distant planet, and the game's mix of puzzle-solving, stealth, and combat made it feel fresh. The world was filled with different locations to explore, from bustling cities to alien landscapes, and you could hop into a hovercraft to travel between them. Destroy All Humans 2 took everything fun from the first game and expanded on it. You were back as Crypto, the wisecracking alien, causing even more chaos on Earth. This time, the open-world levels were set in the 1960s, and you got to visit iconic locations like San Francisco and London. The humor was spot on, poking fun at everything from hippies to Cold War paranoia. Final Fantasy XII was a massive RPG that introduced an open-world feel to the series in a way that was fresh and exciting. You played as a group of heroes caught in a police struggle, and the world of Ivalice was a beautiful, crafted, expansive setting. The game's real-time combat system gave you the freedom to strategize in battles, and the exploration was wide open with plenty of side quests, hidden areas, and optional bosses to discover. So, did you like the games I recommend? So leave your like, subscribe to the channel to follow me, and activate the bell, because I post a lot of videos on this channel and you can't miss it. Thank you very much for following me this far, and until next time. Bye!